What is going on, guys? ThunderBow here, and today I'm bringing you more news on Pocket Edition 0.8.0. And today's video is going to be a discussion on Infinite Worlds. Now, Cleo, who plays on Jay's server a lot, asked Tom, so I guess you're considering Infinite Worlds for 0.8.0? And Tomasa responds, that might be. So, Infinite Worlds are most likely, or not most likely, but will probably make an appearance in the 0.8.0 update. Which, might I add, is pretty awesome. Alright, so this next tweet says, will Infinite Worlds make the game lose FPS since it takes more RAM? I would think so, right? And as a matter of fact, that actually isn't true. Tommaso explains that it's not the RAM that gets used up, but it's the processing power and resources of the device that are being drawn. And he says, yeah, he's looking if he can optimize Infinite Worlds now, and maybe he can make it so that it doesn't draw as much power from the processor of the device. Now, this next tweet here says, perhaps you could increase the world size instead of Infinite Worlds. And Tommaso says that actually isn't a good idea because, for instance, each world in Pocket Edition right now is 256 blocks by 256. Now, that's a relatively small world size, and there's no way of changing that. So each world file is going to be the same amount of memory that would be used. If you make the world bigger, for instance, say 3,000 blocks, now, by default, the world has to be X amount of megabytes. So, he'd rather have Infinite Worlds, where you can explore as much as you want and make the world as big as you want, or you can keep the world as small as you want and have all that unwritten terrain around you. So, Infinite Worlds is actually better than bigger worlds, because the world's file size will vary. Alright, so this next tweet says that if MCP can't have Infinite Worlds yet, is there a chance that which the end part of the world would be a C instead of nothing, like the Xbox? Tommaso basically just responds that it might be a C or something much cooler. So, the wall system that surrounds the current Pocket Edition world may not be there in the 0.8.0 update. So, in this last tweet, people start discussing, lag on certain devices like Android versus iOS, and says that caves won't lag as much on iOS than it will on Android, and somebody responds that most Android devices have better hardware. Then Tommaso responds pretty much just to break up this argument that the problem is they have to target the bottom devices and not really the top, and Android has a lot of really bad devices. Many Android devices have low specs, they don't have a powerful processor, very little RAM, and sometimes very small hard drive. So, in order to make Infinite Worlds, he has to target the bottom Android devices and the older iOS devices in order to make Infinite Worlds optimizable for all devices. Basically, it's going to be a lot of work for Infinite Worlds, and he's still kind of tossed on whether it's going to be in the 0.8.0 update or not. Anyway, this is the end of the video, so thanks for watching. If you found it helpful, leave a like and a favorite. Also, subscribe to my channel, follow me on Twitter at KeepThunder for channel updates. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next video.